This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by the new podcast Anslinger, The Untold Cannabis Conspiracy, the recently released show from producer Annie Rouse. Annie's podcast takes a deep dive into the life of Harry Anslinger, the founding father of marijuana prohibition and an early and influential figure in federal cannabis policy development. Anslinger, The Untold Cannabis Conspiracy is a weekly serial series with new shows going up every Monday, so now is a great time to jump in to follow along. To find Annie's great new show on iTunes, just search for the word Anslinger, which is spelled exactly how it sounds, Anslinger. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, February 21st, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 436 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day starts us off in Ohio, where chaos continues to reign over the process used by the state to select the first winners of medical marijuana cultivation licenses. The latest development in the storyline broke yesterday as a lawsuit was filed by 20 medical marijuana cultivator applicants shut out by the state against the Ohio Department of Commerce, asking the courts to halt the current licensing process. The 20 thwarted applicants claim in their suit that the selection process was marred by a, quote, vast number of failed verifications, scoring errors, undisclosed conflicts of interest, and undisclosed loopholes in the security of information, which provided certain department employees with access and opportunity to manipulate or otherwise modify any applicant's information, unquote. The top driver behind the lawsuit seems to be Jimmy Gould, whose Can Ascend Ohio group lost out in the process and who was a leader in 2015's failed Responsible Ohio initiative. We'll follow this one as the case makes its way through the courts. Early reports out of Pennsylvania's medical marijuana dispensaries shows a system dealing with limited product availability, but one that seems to be doing well in its opening days. Marijuana Business Daily has a good piece up looking at how things are going in the Keystone State as its first 6 medical marijuana dispensaries accept their first patient customers. According to their reporting, shops have been doing healthy bits of business, customers are happy with the new products they have access to, and new cultivators and processors set to come online in the weeks and months to come are expected to smooth out problems with supply. Pennsylvania has done a really good job at implementing their system so far, so probably not a bad one to open up in full. Rounding out our all-medical marijuana set of top headlines for the day is the story of Massachusetts' transition into adult use legalization and the fears that it could disrupt supplies for medical marijuana patients. Regular listeners know that Massachusetts is working to roll out adult use marijuana later this year, and activists within its medical community are warning that the boosted sales from adult use could bleed supply from the medical side of things, leaving patients without access to their medicine. It's not a completely unfounded fear, as we've seen supply issues pop up in states like Nevada, as it allowed its medical shops to start selling to adult use customers. In response to the cannabis crunch, some dispensaries say they're planning for the rush by stockpiling cannabis to be set aside for medical patients. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before I blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, the new podcast Anslinger, The Untold Cannabis Conspiracy, the recently released show from producer Annie Rouse. If you're into the narrative podcast style of shows like S-Town or Startup, then you'll dig Annie's treatment of the history of Harry Anslinger, who is the nation's first top drug cop as commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. After retiring from serving within the federal government, Mr. Anslinger went on to spread his prohibitionary policies on the international stage as the U.S. representative to the United Nations Narcotics Commission. If there is any one single person responsible for the modern-day war on drugs and on marijuana, there's a strong argument to be made that Harry Anslinger is that guy. Learn more about the man who gave us prohibition by opening up iTunes and searching for the word Anslinger to find and subscribe to Annie Rouse's new podcast, Anslinger, The Untold Cannabis Conspiracy. All right, time for the Blitz. Kicking off a chain of headlines about newly proposed marijuana legislation is our friend Tom Angel over at Marijuana Moment, who has the story of a newly introduced bill in West Virginia that would legalize adult use cannabis, much in the same way as Vermont recently chose to do. The bill, introduced by State Senator Richard Ojeda, would free up adults ages 21 years and older to have up to 4 ounces of cannabis at home and 2 in public, while also allowing for the home grow of 4 mature plants and 4 seedlings. In New Jersey, pro-cannabis State Senator Nicholas Scutari is working on amended language for a bill he's introduced to legalize adult use marijuana that would add in a system allowing for limited social use. The senator told NJ Cannabis Insider that he was also open to the idea of expunging low-level marijuana possession arrests, but that he was hesitant about the idea of allowing for home grow. A bill reducing the penalties associated with marijuana possession will be taken up for deliberation today in the Alabama State Legislature. Both the House and Senate Judiciary Committees are scheduled to discuss the merits of a bipartisan bill that would make the first 2 times getting caught with small amounts of marijuana no more than violations subject to a maximum fine of $250. Currently, people caught with even small amounts of cannabis can be thrown in jail for up to a year, even if it's a first offense. We'll track this one as it progresses. Tom Angel picked up another headline on today's show with news of the United Kingdom's Parliament and the debate they will have later this week over the merits of legalizing medical cannabis. On Friday, members of Parliament will discuss a proposed bill from MP Paul Flynn to legalize medical marijuana. This one has a good and deep backstory, so I'd swing over to Marijuana Moment for all the details, photos, and video. Our last proposed legislative headline jumps over to Maryland, where a Senate bill to legalize adult use marijuana has been introduced. Senate Bill 1039 would give adults of age the ability to carry up to an ounce of marijuana on their person and to grow up to 6 plants at home. No commercial sales system would be set up, though people who grew marijuana at home would be free to gift cannabis to friends. This is another one we'll obviously keep a close eye on. The Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission just announced their selection of software companies JD Software and Franwell to provide their state licensing and seed-to-sale tracking systems, respectively. JD Software is based out of Salem, Massachusetts, while Franwell, best known for their system Metric, is located in Florida. And finally for today, a little bit of industry drama is brewing out in Colorado as the cannabis cultivation contest, the Grow Off, is hit with a little bit of a secret revealing. The Grow Off, which has sponsored some episodes of this show way back in the past, is a contest where cultivators are all given the same cannabis seedlings, then judged on how well they bring them to harvest. In the past, the actual genetics of the contest strains were kept secret until the end of the contest, so as to not give any contestants advantages who might have experience with that particular strain. But the latest iteration of the contest has been hit with some grief in the form of a seemingly disgruntled former employee of the cannabis company supplying the Grow Off seedlings, who has been contacting contestants and telling them that they're growing the strain Tangerine Power. In response, contest founder Jake Brown dished on the actual strain, which is Tangerine Power, to all 50 contestants and offered each their money back. Denver Westward is reporting that just one grower took him up on that offer, so the Grow Off grows on. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at MJTodayDaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, the Anslinger Podcast, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says, Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today.
One take, Shay. One take.